a calorie deficit or you're fasting, most likely this period of time is a period of low energy. And because of that, the first thing that suffers are your workouts. And we can't be having that. We can't be having lethargic workouts because it's going to impede our progress. It happens to everyone. Whenever you go on a cut, the first thing that happens a couple weeks in is you're hungry, but you need to go to the gym. You feel tired going in. Halfway through, every weight feels so heavy. You can't lift any more weights, even though 1 kilos feel like 100. Tough times. So here's what you need to do to make this whole process never happen again to you. And it all starts off with understanding that compared to a bulking phase, your deficit phase is never going to produce the same results. And this probably isn't the answer you're looking for. I thought you were going to tell me how to build muscle on a deficit. That's not going to happen. You got to be realistic. On a bulk, you're bringing extra food, extra resources. On a deficit, you're doing the complete opposite. You're stripping away resources. So on a deficit, we can't be expecting to do crazy amounts of volume, hit PRs weekly, none of that. Because if you are you really in a deficit? That's okay. We can take this to our advantage. And what I'm trying to say is that now that we know it's next to impossible to build muscle on a deficit, albeit detrained individuals, very new lifters, and overweight obese individuals, for all those gym bros who've been training for years, next to impossible. I want to say impossible, but you might be a different breed. Because of that, what we're going to do instead is not aim to build muscle, but aim to maintain our muscle mass. I know this is not a compromise, okay? Listen, at the end of a deficit, when you drop your body fat percentage and you maintain your muscle mass, or since you haven't dropped muscle, you're still going to look much leaner and shredded. If you had 100 kilos of pure muscle before the deficit, and let's just say 20 kilos was fat, and now it's 10 kilos, you're obviously going to look leaner. So how do we train to maintain our muscles? Well, if we go back all the way to the first day you started lifting, on that day, had you not come into the gym, would you have lost your gains? Probably not. Actually, certainly not. If you weren't working on the past, you would have not lost any muscle. And in fact, if you didn't work out for that week or even that whole month, and you'd never ended up coming to the gym, you wouldn't have lost muscle. Why? Because your baseline was 0. You've never touched a weight. Now compare that to now. If you go a month without lifting, you know that you will lose some muscle. And why is that? Well, because your baseline has increased. As you spend more years in the gym, your baseline increases. But your baseline is much less compared to the amount you need to do to grow. So the baseline is the minimum you need to do to maintain your gains. Any more will build gains. And this is perfect because if we can do much less but still maintain our muscle, well, workouts become shorter. So that's first psychologically so much better. Like, I'm not spending that much time when I'm so lethargic. Not only that, but it becomes more adherable, the whole deficit. Sets are shorter, so I can spend more time resting, which means each set I'm not going to just drop reps and drop strength. And the whole thing is so much more enjoyable. So how much less, you may ask? I usually say a third in volume reduction. So if you're doing 18 sets of quads per week, drop it down to 12. No, remember, we're maintaining. You don't need to do as much to maintain. We're not trying to build. Of course, we can't build muscle. 12 sets is not going to build you muscle if you usually do 18. But remember, we're not trying to build muscle. We're just trying to do enough to maintain our gains. Do not change any exercises. Because if you change an exercise, then a foreign exercise means a foreign movement to your body. And of course, a foreign movement means it's unrecognizable to your body, so it will cause an excessive amount of muscle damage. It's like when you first started out in the gym, everything's so foreign to your body. It causes so much muscle damage, so much DOMS. Same thing when you try out a new exercise, DOMS. And we don't want DOMS because muscle damage means it needs to be repaired. And we already don't have the resources to facilitate additional repair as well. That's why stick with the same exercises unless, let's just say, an exercise such as the deadlift taxes your body too much. That's very understandable. What you can do for exercise that you feel tax you too much, just thinking of this exercise makes you not want to come to the gym. In that case, switch it out for a very close alternative like RDOs for the deadlift, cheeky little swish. Next thing, what we want to do is keep the reps the same while dropping the weight. So that way we're moving away from failure. And you can do this in a 2-step process. Let's just say you do 3 sets of RDLs, 85 kilos for 8 reps. First, we're going to drop the sets, remember? So we're dropping it to 2 sets on a deficit. Now, when it comes to the weight, instead of 85, let's just bring it down to 75. If you were to do 75 kilos at the same difficulty or the same closeness, proximity to failure, usually it would be more than 8 reps, because as you decrease weight, you can increase your reps, of course. So 85 kilos went down to 75, so maybe 8 reps might have gone up to 12 reps, right? Now, instead of doing 12 reps, we're going to keep it at 8 reps, which makes it so much easier, because you could have done additional 4 reps, moving away from failure. And of course, moving from failure, no, you're not going to build muscle. Once again, we're trying to maintain muscle, not build. And instead of doing 3 sets for 85 kilos for 8 reps, you only have to do 2 sets for 75 kilos for 8 reps. Just thinking of that makes it so much more adherable, pleasant, stress-free. That's what we need in a deficit. May the gains be with you, and see you in the next one.